Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing Hall of Famer cards from multiple eras. This is part of a video response for Rocket Rick J18, who asked us to show 5 different Hall of Famers from multiple eras, and with an eye on bargain hunting, which, you know, if you've watched any of my videos, that's what I am all about, so
it's scientific speciality.
Stick around and I will show you some cards. Hello friends, I am John and I am the 3D 80s kid. For my first era, it's going to be 1910 to 1925, and I have got 5 Hall of Famers from that era. And starting with this 1911 T205 of Fred Clark, Pittsburgh Pirates player manager. He managed the team to 2 World Series, and they won in 1909 against the Detroit Tigers. And this would be, Honus Wagner would have been his star player on those teams. And as far as the T205s, these are actually go for a bit lower pricing than a T206. So like in this grade of a 1, I was able to get this one in an auction on eBay for just right around $100 versus a T206 counterpart in the same grade for the same player. I've seen go upwards of 150 or more, so you get a little bit of a bargain, and I actually like these ones better with the gold border, but those T206s are much higher demand, so go for a bit higher prices.
Well, to each their own, I suppose.
My next card is a strip card, hand-cut strip card, and this would be Eddie Roush. He was the center fielder for the Cincinnati Reds in that 1919 World Series against the Chicago White Sox, also, known as the Black Sox at this point. And this card here, is right up my alley. Authentic, minimum size. Well over 50% of these hand-cut strip cards end up being graded authentic. And, you still, as you can see, get great registration on these cards, and the fact that it's missing a little bit of the border around the edge, who cares? It looks great to me, and I was able to get this one of a lesser known Hall of Famer for only $71 in an auction. So
That's a steal.
Next, a bit more high profile player, and that would be Tris Speaker, as he was part of that second Hall of Fame class in 1937. Along with Nap Lajoie and Cy Young, and that second group of 3 players that made it after the inaugural 5. And so he goes for a bit more, and so this strip card here, which is a 1921 W551 and a 1.5, I was able to win this one in an auction for $150.
I see white fluffy cloud.
Now, many people really love the 1922 American Caramel set with this intricate border, and as such, those cards go for quite a bit higher than what this one is, which is a W573 blank back strip card version, which I was able to get this one here for $120, as the photo cards from the 1920s go for a bit more than the artsy strip cards. But much cheaper than the counterparts that have the advertising backs. And I mean, there's no difference between this card and the one with the back that says American Caramel on it, from the front. So this one, I will take that all day, with it being the blank back version for less money. So
that makes sense to me.
And the 5th and final from this era is my Walter Johnson, 1919 to 1921 W514, very popular strip card set that had a lot of players to choose from in this issue, including 7 of the 8 banned Chicago White Sox players were in this set, which makes it popular for collectors. But here's where an authentic gets you a significant cost savings, in addition to the fact that the strip cards with the art are much cheaper than the photo versions. As for me, this is the most I have spent on a baseball card to this point, but for many, it seems quite reasonable to get one of the inaugural Hall of Fame class members in an auction for $220. So love my Walter Johnson card here.
A legend up here.
For my next era, we've got 1926 to 1940. That era, the primary set of interest for many people was the 1933 Gaudi set. But as I have here, there are bargain options still available even in that set. And that's if you, can overlook some things, starting with my Joe Sewell from that set, shortstop who will forever be associated with Ray Chapman, the player who died when he got hit by a thrown pitch in 1920 for the Indians, as Joe Sewell was his replacement in the starting lineup. Here he's pictured with the Yankees later in his career, but this one, looks great in the front, right? Well, that's because it's a scrapbook card, which I will gladly take cards of this nature. And, as you can see, it's not really even covering up the body of the text there that makes it still readable for all the information on the back. So, love cards like this.
Well, of course you do.
Another one of my favorites of Min size. I could care less that it is missing some of that white border on the right side of the card here when, I can afford something like this that looks this good. And, a legend like Carl Hubble, I was able to get this card for $108 in auction, which is a great price, putting this with, a card that has that white border that doesn't get min size. This one looks like it could have been maybe even a 3, and a 3 in this card goes for more in the neighborhood of $300 to $400. So I will take a min size at 108 all day that looks this good.
Most definitely.
Another case where I'll happily accept a certain issue, and that would be this Lefty Grove, the top pitcher of the 1930s, and this card being a 1, primarily because of this one circle that looks like there was at some point something round there placed on the card that made that white circle imprint. But otherwise, this thing looks fabulous. I mean, the front and the back look really nice, but it gives it that 1 as a technical grade. And as such, I was able to get this one for $150, which his cards go for quite a bit, so this is relatively a bargain by comparison, and still great quality image that I just love seeing on my wall.
This should be in a museum.
Up next, now this set is very popular in the YouTube community, but on the hobby as a whole, it's a significant bargain in most cases compared to the Gaudis. And that would be the National Chico issued Diamond Stars set from 34 to 36. This one being the Sam Rice and SGC2. And I was able to get this one for only $45, I believe. So, you can't touch a Hall of Famer in a 2 grade in a Gaudi set for anywhere close to that. So, nice quality on the backs of these. And, many folks in the community here actually like these better than the Gaudis as far as the design with this whole Art Deco style. So,
Nifty!
They are nifty.
And my last one for this era is my favorite play ball set, which is contrary to many, is actually the 1939 set. I love the black and white photos, just like I will take a 48 Bowman over a 49 Bowman myself. So shout out to Greg there on that one. But Lefty Gomez here is the player I selected. And now this is a case where I had actually purchased a 5 of this card first for $120, and I was able then later to find this one for $60 and resold the 5 for pretty close to what I paid for it, just a slight loss when you factor in the eBay fees. And so netted myself, this one in effect for $65-ish. So, which, I will take that. The 5 was better centered, but my name's not Dylan, so I'm cool with this one. So, really like these images on these play ball cards. So, Hall of Famer, great pitcher, a Yankee, $60. I mean, how can you beat that, really? So, we're talking pre-war.
You can't beat that, can you?
For my next era of cards, I've got 1940 to 1955, and first up, I had wanted to get a card from this set to have a one representative at least on my wall. These ones tend to be a little more expensive, but I found myself one in a lower condition that made it affordable, and that would be this 1949 Leaf Bobby Dorr. It's got a definitely bad condition corner. It's got wrinkles, but the picture quality is still pretty nice on this one. Despite it being colored with watercolors, right, Greg? But this will be a nice addition. I know it's not going to grade very high, but whatever. It's another Hall of Famer that I can add to my wall, and $30 for this was the right price for me. So,
Well, I certainly can't argue with that.
up next, I've got from the 1950 Bowman set. That would be these smaller square cards of theirs. Luke Appling. Love this shot here with the clouds in the background. And, being only a 1.5, I was able to get this card for a nice $25. So,
A bargain is a bargain, Robin.
now this one is an awesome quality with it being an SGC5, and just Ralph Kiner is just off people's radars to the point where it felt like this was a steal that I landed this card at $44 for this 1953 Bowman color. Such great photography in this set. I just love it.
What's not to love?
Another 53 Bowman color. This is a case where I found what I was looking for. I did not care that the centering in this was off. I didn't care about the rounded corners. My focus was the focus, as in the registration on this card. As one of the common things I found while I was searching for this was that the pictures on these ones end up being a bit fuzzy, even with higher graded examples that sell for a lot more money. So I was happy to find this well-focused 2 for $98. So I scooped that one up happily.
I'm looking for a fella.
And lastly, I love the 1955 Topps cards with the yellow background. And this Hal Newhouser card, he was the dominant pitcher of the World War II era, where his 3-year stretch from 44 to 46 is one of the greatest of all time for pitchers. Of course, many of the great hitters of that era were not on the field to face him. So, but clearly he was the dominant pitcher as he won 2 of the 3 MVPs of those years. But this card in a 2, which I still have not figured out what makes it a 2, as it is just gorgeous to me, and I haven't cared to look close enough to figure it out. I was able to get this one for only $24. So
I don't care about the grade.
all right, for my next group, it's 1956 to 1970, and I'm going to start off with a 1956 Topps Willie Mays, and I have got a great-looking one, at least on the front, and that's what's important to me with my display cases, because this is another guy with scrapbook back damage, not to mention the case being cracked as well on the back, which I'm not going to bother to replace the case. It's because I don't look at the back, really. It's all about that gorgeous front, so I was able to get this one in this condition for $140, which, similar looking front without that back damage is probably going to cost me at least twice as much. So
He'll pay double!
up next, I'm getting into my favorite Topps set, which is 1960, and you gotta love the bargain of the Bob Gibson card, which is his 2nd year, so he is still a babyface in this photo on this, and it costs just a fraction compared to what his 59 rookie card cost. I happened to buy this one as vintage cards were starting to soar there back in 2022, and so I actually paid $40 for this one. You can get it cheaper now, but, still a bargain compared to what his 59 card goes.
And who doesn't look for a bargain?
Next one, how can you say any card in this guy is a bargain, but we're talking relative here, and that would be Mickey Mantle in my gorgeous front one, and again, we have got back damage with the scrapbook. Besides the paper loss there, we've got glue circles in the 4 corners, so I will take this all day. I was able to get this back damaged one for $140.
It's Mickey Mantle, Jerry. My idol.
Speaking of true bargains, I can't help but show this card again. It is my favorite of all Topps cards. I put this as number 1 in my previous VR for Mr. Fisher Bike of my favorite vintage cards. And part of what makes it my favorite, too, is I was able to get this unopposed in an auction for $26. So, love me the Ed Matthews 1960 Topps card.
It's perfecto.
And lastly, again, 1960 Topps. The third big center fielder in New York back in the 50s, along with Mays and Mantle, was this guy, Duke Snider, able to get this really nice-looking 5 for the grand total of $24. So,
Very inexpensive and affordable. Even young children could afford it.
The final era I'm going to go through is 1971 to 1985, and I'm going to start this one out with my favorite set of the 1970s, 1972 tops, and the card I've got here is Carl Yastrzemski. I was able to get this SGC5 in an auction unopposed for a whopping $15.
It's practically free.
I, once again, unopposed for the auction of this SGC7 Raleigh Fingers for $19. So I will take that.
What happened to your mustache?
Ended up among this 5. Ended up being the most for this card here, which was an SGC6 Jim Palmer, but still a relative bargain at $27 for this.
I definitely paid more for that.
Definitely a not approved by Dylan card by any means, but the picture is just so crisp, gorgeous, and vibrant on this SGC6, which clearly gets all of its downgrading from the spectacular centering, but I don't mind in the slightest because it's so glorious with the brightness of this picture. This Willie Stargell went to me unopposed for $20.
I don't know. Something's off center.
Lastly, I have a 1984 Topps Eddie Murray that I also was able to capture unopposed for a whopping $9. So, glorious addition to the wall for quite the bargain price. I will take that all day and twice on Sundays.
This party 8 days a week.
Thanks again to Rick over at Rocket J18. You've got a great channel that is growing and growing. Loved your live stream you did recently with Scott of Stukes Baseball Cards and Curiosities, and you're continuing on. I saw a recent another live stream you did, so you're doing a great job over there, and thanks for putting this out in the community.
Thanks, Rick.
And everyone else, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching, so thank you very much, and I will see you next time.
Great seeing you. Catch you later.